If you've been on the emo or metalcore side of the internet, you might know who Ronnie Radke is. Ronnie's someone who is known for many things, but one of those being making music. Ronnie was originally in a band called Escape the Fate, went to prison, started another band that he's still in today called Falling in Reverse. This video is not going to be about Ronnie directly because that video would be at least the bare minimum an hour long. And also, I don't care to get sued at the moment. So instead, I'm going to be talking about people in general that go out of their way to defend Ronnie Radke as if he cares about them. Remember, kids, famous people are not your friends, and they don't care about you. There really is no need to defend their bad behaviors. It's one thing for random people on the internet to defend these famous people like Ronnie Radke, but there's some YouTubers with really good followings out there that really will jump at the chance of making a video to defend their bootleg Eminem. Just as a disclaimer, I do watch all these creators occasionally, and I do enjoy their content. I'm just making this video to critique the way that they handle and cover Ronnie Radke stories and how they choose to cover only certain Ronnie topics. I think it's okay to have a bias when making videos, as you'll clearly see throughout this video, but I think that everyone has the right to critique your opinion, just like they have the right to critique mine. Yeah, if you guys do want to see a video on Ronnie Radke reviewing him as a person, let me know in the comments down below. Okay, back to the video. I'm only going to quickly go over Finn McKenty, aka the Punk Rock MBA, because it does seem like he's a bit more fair, at least from what I've seen when he talks about Ronnie. Some context for this here. Finn interviewed M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold either ahead of or during their tour with support from Falling in Reverse, that many people were not fans of them being on that tour.
And anyone that knows me, I've been very vocal about my support of all sorts of these groups that are attacking Ronnie right now, personally, right? Whether it's the LGBTQ or whatever, all these communities, right?
All sorts of these groups that are attacking Ronnie. Man, I wonder why he can say this and not think for 1 second. I wonder why specific groups of people attack this guy. Yeah, probably for no reason, right? And it's also always funny how like these older people always struggle just saying LGBTQ.
The LGBT,
as if it's just not letters in the alphabet, and they always say, "Oh, whatever." Like it's just difficult for them to say. And then you have Finn just nodding harder than I've ever seen anybody nod before.
Oh yeah, whatever.
But then you go into Warped Tour, and then Warped Tour started getting a lot more, had more of an agenda, right?
I'm sidetracking a bit here from the main topic of our video, but I thought this was just funny. Warped Tour had more of an agenda. Yeah, what was that agenda? Keeping children safe? I thought that was funny, and the whole time Finn's like, "Oh yeah, whatever you say, I'll just agree to," which seems to be kind of a common theme with whoever Finn is talking to or about. He just kind of agrees with them no matter what. But this video isn't going to be about M Shadows, right? So what does Finn say here? Well, to be honest, Finn doesn't really say a whole lot here. This entire section talking about Ronnie, he mostly just nods in agreement. He has a few chuckles here and there. Has a huge smile on his face for the most part, and lets M Shadow just make Ronnie look as good as he possibly can in anticipation of their tour. There's a part where they talk about how rock and roll is dying, basically, because people are just being snowflakes, and oh my God.
And this goes back to rock and roll in danger. Ronnie to me is a perfect character that would have been the Axl Rose or the sort of
Marilyn Manson,
even Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, you're right. I sure do miss rock stars like Marilyn Manson.
He's also an asshole.
We're not. A lot of my friends are assholes, right?
Yeah. And he can be an asshole. Yeah. I can be an asshole, and you can dislike.
I think people confuse being a rock star on stage and having a cool presence on stage with being an asshole in your day to day. But anyway, I do like that Finn isn't shy, to call Ronnie at the very least an asshole. But at the same time, he always says, "Hey, but we're all assholes, right?" Which, sure, I guess. But at the same time, Ronnie's he's on a whole different level of foolery, if you will. Rockfeed is a really popular channel that covers a lot of rock news, and honestly, he does a good job covering most of it. But he isn't shy when it comes to showing his bias towards Ronnie, which, again, I think is fine, by the way. I don't think every channel that covers news topics has to be unbiased, but him in being unbiased is actually going to lead into the next YouTuber that we're going to be talking about, which, stick around for, please. Now, Rockfeed was actually able to interview Ronnie, and Ronnie says, he doesn't really do many interviews, but he did one with Rockfeed. I wonder why.
Oh, thank you. I don't do interviews a lot because I just don't feel the need to. But I like you. And I like what you're doing for rock culture, as opposed to there's a lot of people that just farm negativity to get views. As you could see on YouTube and everything. And you're literally the anomaly. You don't do that, and you're unbiased and you're just honest about it.
Basically, I took an interview with you because you glazed me blindly, right? You love me. Why wouldn't I take an interview with you?
It took me a long time actually to learn that, to kind of get through a lot of that shit talking on the internet and get to a point where you don't care. And, from your standpoint, seeing how you've handled many different situations with a no fucks given attitude that I think is in a lot of ways absent from rock right now.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people just play it too safe and then maybe they're too risk averse, and you're willing to take risks.
It's funny how a lot of these people really love saying Ronnie just gives no freaks, man. He's such a badass standing up to Gen Z and woke culture and pronouns. But I don't know if someone who gives no freaks would really spend as much time as he does, responding to people on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter. And I think it's one thing to respond to claims that are lies. I get that. But bro responds to people like me, right? Get 10 views on a video and we just don't like him or his music, he'll respond to that.
I feel like I'm a comedian, man. People need to just look at me as a comedian and stop taking me so serious. I'm not a serious person, dude. I am not.
I think that you're spot on, that a lot of people misunderstand your sense of humor. It's very deadpan at times.
Ah, yes, Mr. Rockfeed. If we don't like what he says, we just don't understand his sense of humor. Or, maybe, and hear me out, maybe this guy's just not funny and he's just being an asshole, allegedly.
You either like it or you don't.
Yes. Ew. I think that when you deal with this stuff online and when you're dealing with, controversies and backlash and all of that stuff, it does help to have someone who is going to support upcoming bands. And I do think that's one of the, whether people disagree with you or not, I think that people can sense that you're being honest.
For some context on that last clip, Ronnie Radke's had issues with Chris Motionless from the band Motionless in White. And according to Ronnie from this interview here, the issues started when Chris kicked the band Crown the Empire from his tour because of some allegations against their guitarist. Ronnie wanted to stand up for the little guy because it's not okay that he kicked them off his tour. I know it's your tour, Chris, but that's not okay because I said so. You can't kick them off. What are you doing? You can't kick them off. And, I want to reiterate, false allegations are not cool. And they really do hurt careers. But also, if I have a tour, right? I'm the headliner. I want to kick an opening band out for whatever reason, allegations or not. I should be allowed to do that. That's American freedom, baby. It's my tour. And, honestly, nobody can tell me who I'm not allowed to kick from my tour. Isn't that right, Ronnie? But no, these 4-year-old snowflakes get offended if you kick someone off a tour these days, I guess. Rockfeed, he agrees that small bands really need someone like Ronnie to protect them. Oh my God, he's such a guardian angel protecting these little small bands from greedy Chris Motionless. Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm using one example here, but in general, if you see a Rockfeed video talking about Ronnie, it's almost never going to say anything negative about him. And I mean, just listen to how he talks about him here.
I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. I think you're so important for rock music. We need more people like you out there. I really mean that. I think when you're not on social media, it's boring.
It really makes you wonder what Ronnie has to do to receive any bit of criticism from this guy or even Finn McKenty if everything he's done so far hasn't received any negative reaction?
Yes.
Now, I wanted to use Rockfeed as kind of a segue to the next and last person I'm going to talk about, TankTheTech. TankTheTech is a YouTuber who talks about his experiences, as a tour manager, a tech, his opinions on music, and just lots of other things. And I think he makes really good content. And, seeing his insights on things based on his experience is really interesting to see. So, I'm a fan of his content. Now, given that, he recently made a video from one of his Twitch streams where he's reacting to the new lawsuit, Ronnie Radke versus Anthony Fantano. And he says some things that I just disagree with, and that's what really would inspire me to make this video here. So, thank you, Tank. Now, if you wanted to know where Tank stands on this, here you go.
I don't know the full story about what's going on right now. From the tidbits that I saw this morning, I think from my quick, brief skim through of all of this, you'd probably be surprised to know I'll probably side more with Ronnie's argument on this. But
and where does he get informed on this situation?
And right now, I'm going to start with a great go-to for me, which is Rockfeed. I think the guy that runs Rockfeed is one of the best music metal journalists out there right now. Very fair and unbiased, and I want to start there.
Our good friend and pal Rockfeed, our totally unbiased friend, Mr. Rockfeed. And again, I think it's okay to have a bias. I mean, clearly I do, but come on, how are you gonna say Rockfeed is unbiased? Now for some context on this next clip. Part of Ronnie's suit mentions some tweets that Andy Sizik, a much better vocalist than Ronnie and someone who's in several bands and is a YouTuber, calls him the insert arrested comedian of alt music. And Fantano shows that in his video that he's getting sued for. So that's some context for this next clip.
I actually remember that happening because I remember messaging Nick Nocturnal and being like, because, him and Andy are in Termina together. And I'm like, yo, what the f is Andy getting into right now? Because this is not going to end well. And apparently, I remember shortly after, Andy deleted all of his tweets at Ronnie. And I do remember all of this very well.
Tank says he remembers this very well, actually. Now, Tank, if you remember it so well, why don't you mention the tweets that Ronnie responded with here, where he calls Andy a predator, and he shows accusations that aren't even about him, but about his band's previous singer. These tweets have long been deleted, obviously, but luckily there's several articles showing that Ronnie actually tweeted this. Yeah, and they didn't go band for band on the timeline like people usually do. They went defamation for defamation. Now, Tank, right? If you remember this so well, why didn't you mention this? And why do you think that Ronnie's lawsuit doesn't mention it either? To me, a person with a much larger following wrongfully calling someone a predator and showing allegations that aren't even about them is clear defamation. But, who knows? I'm not a lawyer, right? I do think that this is something important to at least mention, at least in your video. Also, just do a second of critical thinking. Obviously, if I file a lawsuit, I'm not going to include all the things that would make me lose the suit in that, right? So why would you base your opinion solely on that? What? Later on, Tank goes to talk about another creator that had problems with Ronnie named Vizzy.
That's a tough one. Make your own opinion. I don't even know myself. I didn't really look too deep into the story.
That's a problem. If you're gonna do a video talking about like 1 hour of stories about evil musicians, blah blah blah, or you're gonna talk about something that serious about allegations of somebody, you need to dig deep into it. Bruh. You have to do your research. Otherwise, you're gonna end up like this guy or Fantano that are just saying things that aren't true, and you're gonna get sued. So I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for content creators that are throwing stuff out there and I didn't really dig into it that much. I don't know the full story about what's going on right now.
Now, Vizzy admittedly says he didn't look too much into a certain topic regarding Ronnie, and he tells people to form their own opinions on it. Tank straight up does not like this, and he says that creators really have to do more research on the things that they are talking about. But also, as far as I know, Ronnie didn't actually sue Vizzy because his video is still up. It seems like Vizzy reached out to a lawyer to, make sure everything he said was okay. Speaking on articles that mention allegations is probably not defamatory. And honestly, if he did sue him, Ronnie would have been bragging about it stop. Come on. It's Ronnie. It took me all of 10 seconds to come to that conclusion just from doing a bit of digging. And I would hope Tank could do the same, especially because he's so passionate about people doing research for their videos. But at the same time, in this case, Tank only researched the side that would make Ronnie look good. So who knows?
You need to dig deep into it. Like, you have to do your research. Otherwise, you're going to end up like this guy or Fantano that are just saying things that aren't true.
Now, Tank, let's say hypothetically, I agree with you, right? Then I would say, how come in this 24-minute clip of your stream, you don't actually watch Anthony Fantano's video that he's getting sued for, or even Vizzy's video that you assumed he got sued for? You even go to Anthony's channel to see if the video is still up, and you deliberately choose not to watch it from what you show in your video. I also get that this was live, and sometimes being live changes how you might do things compared to a scripted YouTube video, for example. But come on, man. You can't say, yeah, Ronnie's going to win this thing from all the details we have. He's for sure going to win it, right? And then not watch the Fantano video at all to get all the details. You would support Ronnie regardless, I guess. So watching the Fantano video might be pointless, but still, it doesn't hurt. Now, he might have watched the Anthony Fantano video in the full VOD, but that's behind a paid subscription to his Twitch. But I do think this is something that if you did watch, you should have included in your video, especially because you end your video saying this.
Like I said, from what we've seen, I bet Ronnie has a better case to win this than it being thrown out. I don't know what else to say, man. Like, on one hand, I really gotta say, I almost sympathize for Ronnie in these situations.
Obviously, Ronnie's going to be a clear winner if you only use his lawsuit and a rock feed video discussing it as your sources of information. Could Tank have actually done research on this? Yes. But did he? Clearly not. I think it's funny that Tank even mentions in this video that he had a negative experience with Ronnie because of a joke that he made about him. And, Ronnie slid into his DMs upset, angry, and then he ended up blocking him over a clear joke.
And Ronnie did DM me and was not happy that I made that joke. And I apologized to him. I even took the comment down and I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I did not mean it this way. And I don't think he believed me because he was very, very clearly upset in messages and he blocked me on socials and stuff. But
rather than seeing how this shows that Ronnie's just a sensitive 40-year-old man that can't take a joke, he says, no, I get it. I'm sorry, Ronnie. Don't be mad at me, please. I do get that Tank wants to be the bigger person in this situation, and I applaud him for that since I would never be the bigger person when it comes to that guy. But at some point, you have to come to the realization that if you can say, a million good things about Ronnie and then critique him or make a joke about him one time and he slides into your DMs angry, that's just weird behavior for a 40-year-old grown man to do. And it really shows the kind of guy that he is. Also, as an aside, I wish more people would talk about Ronnie's Brad Taste in Music situation from some time ago, because I'm sure some legal precedent would have loved to get its hands on this, which none of the YouTubers I talked about here ever covered this story, at least to my knowledge. Maybe Finn McKenty did, but I would love for someone to prove that to be wrong, Hope maybe they did talk about it and I just couldn't find it, but I really wonder how Tank would feel about that, given that he's a content creator himself. In general, it seems like there's so many negative things about Ronnie that these YouTubers could make videos on, but they only choose to make content when they know they can defend him. In general, it's really just annoying because it seems like as much as they don't like videos where people haven't done their full research, you probably haven't done their full research, or they choose to deliberately not make videos on those topics. Or, maybe I'm just chronically online and I see a lot more than they do, but I don't even know. Maybe some of these creators are scared that they'll get sued too, so who knows. But if that was the case, why make videos even saying positive things about him? I don't get it. I would love to make a video going over a lot of the negative things, and maybe I can change their opinions a bit. To end things off, I wanted to go over some comments I found across the videos that I included in this video. In regards to TankTheTech, Nate over here says, Rockfeed is very biased. Great videos for non-opinionated news like upcoming tours and festivals. Once opinions are added in the mix, he very obviously picks a side and feeds drama. Which I definitely agree with, and kind of said this earlier. Rockfeed is a good source for news, but stuff like this, he's just super biased, which again I think is okay to be, not saying it's not. But just don't pretend not to be, Again, in regards to TankTheTech, Joe says, I'd watch the video before getting so confident in Ronnie's approach. Fantano doesn't say anything untrue or false. He is reacting to articles and tweets from Ronnie. Again, these comments are on TankTheTech's video right now. Now, I don't know how the lawsuit's going to turn out. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think it's defamation to talk about accusations, especially if articles are reporting on it. So I think this lawsuit, if taken to court, is probably not going to go in Ronnie's favor. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I want to reiterate that I like all these creators' videos and I watch them every now and then. But man, it's just annoying when they dick ride Ronnie and they themselves don't really care to research the other side much. But then they criticize others for doing the same when they have something negative to say about Ronnie, I probably did the same thing in this video, but I'm going to say I'm 100% biased. I hate Ronnie Radke only because I've looked at both sides. Ian says, love how Ronnie cries every time someone says his music sucks, but also has the line, nowadays everybody is so sensitive, LMAO, which I think is a great way to end the video. And yes, this is all for views, no hate towards anyone I mentioned in this video, please. If you guys do want to see a Ronnie Radke video from someone who has been chronically online in the alt and emo scene since they were a kid, let me know in the comments because, oh boy, do I have a lot to say. Anyway, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a like and subscribe if you can. Doesn't cost anything. If you like and subscribe, I won't sue you. But if you don't, I might throw a mic stand at you, all right? But yeah, that's it. Bye-bye.